Mercedes is being accused of exploiting a loophole in Formula One's 2026 engine rules, and Toto Wolff has fired back, telling rivals to get their shit together. Audi, Ferrari and Honda have asked the FIA to review how compression ratios are checked on the new power units, amid suggestions that Mercedes can pass static tests but run a higher effective compression ratio once the engine is hot and on track. So what is actually going on here? Who needs to vote for a change? And how realistic is it that the FIA steps in before the 2026 engines are frozen? Let's break it down. Under the new 2026 power unit regulations, the maximum compression ratio has been reduced from 18:1 to 16:1. On paper, this is meant to make the engines a bit more accessible for newcomers and to keep costs under control. Rival manufacturers believe Mercedes has found a way to tick the 16:1 box in static ambient tests, but achieve a higher ratio when the engine is running at higher temperatures on track. In simple terms, the accusation is that Mercedes is playing right at the edge of how the rule is measured, not how it behaves in real racing conditions. Audi, Ferrari and Honda jointly wrote to the FIA asking for clarification and potentially a change in how those checks are carried out. Right now, compression ratio is verified with static tests at ambient temperature. Rival manufacturers are pushing for new procedures that would make any dynamic advantage much harder to hide, including running the engine first, warming it up, and only then checking compression ratio, or even using sensors during real running to monitor what's actually happening on track. These methods would give a more representative picture of how the engine behaves in real use, not just on a cold test bench. But changing the testing procedure is not as simple as sending a letter and complaining about Mercedes. Any change to how these measurements are done goes through the Power Unit Advisory Committee, and it needs a supermajority. That means 4 of the 5 power unit manufacturers, plus the FIA, plus Formula One, the commercial rights holder, all have to agree. Audi, Ferrari and Honda are already aligned in pushing for action. That leaves 2 key players, Red Bull Ford Powertrains and the FIA itself, usually voting in lockstep with Formula One. Red Bull has been loosely linked to the same compression ratio loophole in some reports, but that picture has become more nuanced. The suggestion now is Red Bull may understand or even benefit from a similar solution, but it might still support intervention if Mercedes is gaining more than they are, especially given Mercedes' customer teams. In other words, this is as much about the competitive pecking order as it is about clarity in the regulations. The FIA initially did not seem eager to intervene after a technical experts meeting in late January. More recent meetings, including the latest PUAC session, have put the topic back on the table, but there's still no final decision. An FIA spokesperson has already said the issue remains under internal discussion and any update may only come later. Even if there is political will to change the testing procedure, time is running out. The 2026 power units are due to be homologated on March 1st. Engine changes are not quick patches. They require long lead times, design work, manufacturing and validation. If the FIA tightens the measurement rules too late, some manufacturers could be forced into last-minute redesigns or stuck with a disadvantage that's frozen in for years. That's exactly why Audi, Ferrari and Honda are pushing now, and why Mercedes is so keen to argue that everything is already crystal clear. Toto Wolff has not exactly played this down. Ahead of Mercedes' season launch, he made his position very clear, saying that other manufacturers needed to get their, quote, shit together. He argued that communication with the FIA had been very positive, that the situation is not just about compression ratio but other areas too, and that the regulations and test procedures are, in his view, straightforward. His key line: "The engine is legal. The engine corresponds to how the regulations are written. The engine corresponds to how the checks are being done." That's as direct a message as you're going to get in this kind of technical war. So where does this leave us? 3 manufacturers pushing for stricter checks, Mercedes insisting its engine is fully legal, Red Bull sitting in a crucial swing position, and the FIA under pressure to decide whether to act before March 1st. Is this a genuine loophole that needs closing, or just classic Formula One politics because someone thinks Mercedes might have nailed the 2026 concept first? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like sharp, no-nonsense coverage of Formula One's technical and political battles, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications.